Hello and welcome back to the Hazzabhajan YouTube channel. It is Harry here, and if you're noticing a bit of a difference in the camera quality, my main camera broke recently, so I'm having to use my reserve camera for the time being. Hopefully I'll be able to get the main one fixed before too long, but hopefully there isn't too much of a dip in quality. On to the actual topic of the video now, and I've decided to take a little bit of inspiration from recent events that occurred at the time of this recording last week when Italy, the reigning European champions, were knocked out of the World Cup by North Macedonia in quite incredible circumstances. Upon seeing that result come through, it got me thinking, how well did each European Championship winner fare at the World Cup after they won the European Championships? Well, that's exactly what we're going to find out in today's video. And if you enjoyed, of course, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. But without any further ado, let's have a look at how each European Championship, or more commonly referred to as the Euros winner, fared at the World Cup after they won Europe's premier international competition. The USSR at the 1962 World Cup, the quarterfinals. We started the 1962 World Cup since there were no European Championship tournaments prior to 1960, meaning that our first team to be profiled is the Soviet Union. They qualified for the European Nations Cup, as it was known back then, following General Franco's decision not to allow Spain to play the USSR owing to an extreme clash in ideologies, and they made great use of this bye that they were given, beating Czechoslovakia 3-0 in the semi-finals before snatching an extra time winner over Yugoslavia in the final to become the incumbent Euros champions. They would then win all four of their World Cup 1962 qualifying games against Turkey and Norway, and in the actual World Cup group containing Uruguay, Colombia and their Euros final opponents Yugoslavia, they finished top and managed to draw 4-4 with Colombia to boot. However, they would come unstuck against the host Chile, who defeated them 2-1 in the quarterfinals, and their bid to become the first team to win both the World Cup and the European Championships was over. Spain at the 1966 World Cup, the group stages. Although Franco had refused to allow Spain to play the USSR in 1960, he changed his tune in 1964 when, on home soil, the two countries met in the 1964 Euros final, and his U-turn would prove to be a blessing for his nation as Spain overcame their adversaries 2-1. In their 1966 World Cup qualifying group, they only had to face the Republic of Ireland after Syria withdrew. And no, before you ask, I don't know why they were in the European section either. And after both sides won a match apiece, a playoff was scheduled in Paris, and Spain won it to progress. Sadly, they couldn't live up to the hype, as they narrowly lost to both West Germany and Argentina and fell at the first hurdle, with a 2-0 win over bottom place Switzerland the only thing they had to show for their efforts. This would begin a series of underachievements at major tournaments for La Roja, who didn't so much as make it to any of the following 3 European Championships or the next 2 World Cups in Mexico and West Germany, and it would take until the 21st century before they finally got some hands on some more silverware. Italy at the 1970 World Cup, runners-up. Italy's success at the 1968 Euros owed quite a lot to luck, as their semi-final against the USSR was decided by a coin toss, with captain Giacinto Vachetti calling correctly and sending the Italians through to the showpiece event, which they won against Yugoslavia in a replay. They then backed it up with a good showing at the 1970 World Cup, even if they only scored 1 goal in their 3 group games, yet still finished top. They came to life in the knockout stages though, thrashing host Mexico 4-1 in the quarters before stunning West Germany with a thrilling comeback from 3-1 down to win 4-3 after extra time, although they just so happened to come up against one of the finest, if not the finest, team that the World Cup has ever seen in the form of the 1970 Brazil squad. They were thrashed 4-1 in the final as the Seleção put on a footballing masterclass right when it mattered. Although given that Brazil were given the Jules Rimet trophy to keep permanently after winning it for the 3rd time, I wonder if Italy would have also been given it should they have defied the odds and won, since it would have been their 3rd success should they have triumphed. West Germany at the 1974 World Cup, winners. The first team to win the Euros and the World Cup in succession was West Germany, which started when they won the 1972 Euros by beating the USSR 3-0 in the final, with 2 goals from the late great Gerd Müller. With home advantage for the 1974 World Cup, they had to settle for 2nd place in their group after they were shockingly defeated 1-0 by neighbours East Germany, but they dominated their 2nd round group to set up a showdown with bitter rivals the Netherlands in the final. They fell behind within 90 seconds with a Dutch penalty before a German player had even so much as touched the ball, but as the Dutch complacency grew, so too did the German confidence, and they turned the game around to win it 2-1 and lift their 2nd World Cup in their history. Czechoslovakia at the 1978 World Cup failed to qualify. After profiling the first team to win both tournaments successively, we now profile the first team to fail to qualify for the World Cup after they won the Euros, and even excluding the aforementioned Italy, Czechoslovakia won't be the last such instance in this video. They won the only major trophy in their history on penalties against West Germany, with Antonin Panenka scoring the winning penalty by casually chipping the ball down the centre of the goal, hence why we now call that type of penalty the Panenka. Their fall would be rapid though, as they finished 2 points behind Scotland in their World Cup 1978 qualification group, despite beating the Scots 2-0 in their opening game. And with only one team making it through to the finals in Argentina, the Czechs were forced to watch it from the comfort of their own sofas, as opposed to live in the flesh. West Germany at the 1982 World Cup. Runners-up. West Germany are the first team to feature twice in this video, as they became the first two-time winners of the Euros in 1980 with a 2-1 win over Belgium in the final, courtesy of a late winner from Horst Hrubesch. Their displays at the 1982 World Cup were riddled with controversy, especially with the so-called disgrace of Gijón, when they played out a 1-0 win over Austria, safe in the knowledge that such a result would send both sides through to the second group stage at the expense of Algeria, who just so happened to have beaten the Germans earlier in the group. They edged through that second round group by beating Spain 2-1 and drawing 0-0 with England, before their semi-final with France would see goalkeeper Harald Schumacher clatter into Patrick Battiston, knocking the Frenchman out cold and seeing him lose several teeth. But Schumacher couldn't care less about the stricken Battiston, impatiently waiting for the signal from the referee for him to take his goal kick, as the ref had somehow not even given so much as a foul, never mind a red card, to the German goalkeeper, in spite of the serious damage that had been caused to Battiston and Michel Platini, thinking he might have died. They ended up winning that game on penalties, but justice finally caught up with them when Italy defeated them 3-1 in the final, and even the West German public were happy with that result. France at the 1986 World Cup. Third place. Shaken but not stirred by that, for want of a better phrase, knockout blow by the Germans in 1982, and Michel Platini-inspired France went on to dominate Euro 84, with the now disgraced former head of UEFA scoring 9 goals in just 5 games to drag the French kicking and screaming to their first major international honours. Whilst they couldn't match that performance at the 1986 World Cup in Mexico, they still registered their joint best finish at a World Cup up to that point. They came second behind the USSR in their group on goal difference alone, and they overcame reigning champions Italy and then Brazil to set up a semi-final showdown with West Germany, but once again they were defeated, this time by 2-0. They at least provided their fans with a sliver of solace when they won the meaningless third place playoff encounter against Belgium 4-2 after extra time, but stunningly they failed to qualify for 3 of the next 4 major international tournaments, only getting their act together properly in 1998 when they won the World Cup. The Netherlands at the 1990 World Cup, round of 16. Eager to put their failure to qualify for both World Cups in the 1980s behind them, the Netherlands, powered by the grace of Marco van Basten, the rock of Frank Rijkaard and the dreadlocks of Ruud Gullit, showed exactly what they were capable of with a triumphant Euro 88 campaign, capped off by a spectacular volley by Van Basten in the final against the USSR, who had actually finished above Holland in the group stages. However, they were brought crashing back down to earth at the 1990 World Cup, as they had to rely on being one of the best third-place sides in the group stages after drawing all 3 of their games, and in a bitter game against West Germany in the round of 16, which saw Rijkaard spit at Rudi Voller twice, they ultimately lost 2-1 and were eliminated without winning a single game at the tournament. Denmark at the 1994 World Cup failed to qualify. In a way, Denmark failed to qualify for 2 straight major tournaments, as they famously finished second behind Yugoslavia in their Euro 92 qualifying group, but after the Yugoslavs were expelled from the competition following the outbreak of their civil war, the Danes took their place at Euro 92 and stunned the continent by winning the whole thing. They couldn't back it up with qualification for the 1994 World Cup in the USA though, as a loss to Spain in their final game saw the Republic of Ireland overtake them on goals scored into the final qualification spot. Sadly for the Danes, there would be no reprieve by virtue of either Spain or Ireland being expelled this time around, so they became the second European champions to fail to make it to the World Cup after they'd won the tournament. The European tournament, that is. Germany at the 1998 World Cup, quarter-finals. After their disappointment in the final of Euro 92, when Denmark beat them 2-0, Germany made up for it by going all the way at Euro 96 in England, winning the competition by virtue of a golden goal from Oliver Bierhoff. Their showing at the 1998 World Cup in France wouldn't be quite so vintage though, as despite a convincing group stage in which they won 7 points from 9, the cracks started to show with a very nervy 2-1 win over Mexico in the round of 16. They were then fully exploited by a rampant Croatia team in the quarter-finals, who thrashed them 3-0, and a decline was set in motion that carried on into Euro 2000, where they were eliminated with just 1 point to their name in the group stages. France at the 2002 World Cup. Group stages. The winner of Euro 2000 was France, thanks to yet another golden goal, this time from David Trezeguet against Italy, meaning that they became the first team to win the World Cup and then the Euros, contrasting with West Germany doing it the other way around in 1972 and 1974. What happened next was one of the most infamous showings in the history of the World Cup, as despite boasting virtually all of their star names from both of their tournament successes, including the likes of Zinedine Zidane, Thierry Henry and Claude Makélélé to name just 3, plus a raft of other young talents, they failed to score a single goal at the 2002 World Cup in Japan and South Korea. They lost the tournament opener to Senegal with a goal from the late Papa Bouba Diop, before a goalless draw with Uruguay and a 2-0 reverse at the hands of Denmark saw them finish in a humiliating last place and start the trend of World Cup winners failing spectacularly at the following tournaments that has continued to this day. France, be warned for Qatar. Greece at the 2006 World Cup. Failed to qualify. Greece's mentality throughout Euro 2004 was simply to score and then shut up shop as much as possible, with their defence-first tactics leading to be dubbed as boring and dull by outsiders. But it worked, as a goal from Angelos Caristeas in the final against Portugal was enough to grant them a shock success. They continued this approach into their 2006 World Cup qualifying group, scoring just 15 and conceding 9 in their 12 games, but despite amassing 21 points, they were bettered by Ukraine, Turkey and Denmark, meaning that they finished in 4th, missing out on the playoffs to boot. They did manage to make it to Euro 2008 to defend their title, but they were the only team to lose all 3 of their group stage matches at the tournament, going from the gold medal to the wooden spoon in the space of just 4 years. Spain at the 2010 World Cup. Winners. After 44 years of almost constantly being among the favourites for major tournaments before failing to live up to expectations each and every time, Spain finally broke their hoodoo when they tore through Euro 2008 and defeated Germany 1-0 in the final, with Fernando Torres netting the winner. This form will carry on into the 2010 World Cup, as although they only scored 8 goals throughout the competition and only scored once in each of their 4 knockout games, they spellbound their opponents with their tiki-taka style of play. Well, apart from the Netherlands, who counteracted this by kicking the living daylights out of the Spanish in the final in an attempt to stop them playing at their own game. It didn't work though, as a very late winner from Andres Iniesta gave them their 2nd consecutive major international trophy. Spain at the 2014 World Cup, the group stages. They went on to make it a hat-trick at Euro 2012 with another convincing tournament display, culminating with a 4-0 demolition job of Italy in the final. However, the curse of 21st century World Cup winners struck them down hard when they played in Brazil in 2014, as despite taking an early lead in their opening game against the Netherlands, the Dutch came back, without the need for foul play this time around, and trounced them 5-1. A stunning 2-0 reverse at the hands of Chile meant that Spain would not even make the knockout stages, and a much-changed team won their pointless final encounter against Australia 3-0 to at least avoid a bottom place finish in the group, something which seemed unthinkable a couple of years prior, if not even a couple of weeks prior. Portugal at the 2018 World Cup, the round of 16. One of the weirdest Euros winners in its history, Portugal only won 1 game in 90 minutes throughout the entire tournament, their 2-0 semi-final victory against Wales to be precise, having drawn all 3 of their group games to squeak through as one of the best third-place teams before beating Croatia in extra time, Poland on penalties, Wales as I just mentioned, and then France in the final with an extra time goal from the unfancied striker Eder. They rediscovered their dominant form in 2018 World Cup qualifying, earning 27 points out of 30 to qualify automatically ahead of Switzerland on goal difference. But apart from their thrilling 3-3 draw against Spain in their opening game of the World Cup itself, they didn't really set the world alight. A nervy win over Morocco preceded a 1-1 draw with Iran, where they conceded in the 90th minute and could have exited should they have conceded again. But they were ultimately dumped out by Uruguay in the round of 16 thanks to a brace from Edinson Cavani. After another underwhelming display at Euro 2020, the 2022 World Cup could prove to be a chance for their superstar-packed team to set the record straight and for Cristiano Ronaldo to have one last major tournament hurrah. Italy at the 2022 World Cup, failed to qualify. We end with the incident that inspired the whole video, and the incident that was discussed right at the start of it, as despite the fact that the 2022 World Cup hasn't actually started yet as of the time of this recording, we already know the fate of the incumbent European champions, as Italy have failed to make it to consecutive World Cups for the first time in their history. After the humiliating playoff exit to Sweden in qualifying for the 2018 World Cup, it looked like Italy had finally got their house back in order with an exciting young generation of players and a perfect manager to guide them in Roberto Mancini, as they embarked on a world record 37 international games without defeat, which included a triumphant Euro 2020 campaign. However, they seem to be suffering from a post-Euros hangover, as they drew 4 out of their final 5 qualifying matches for the 2022 World Cup to be pipped by Switzerland to the automatic spot, and in their playoff semi-final against North Macedonia, they were shocked by a thunderous long-range strike by Alexander Tarkowski in the 92nd minute, and the Italians had no time to recover. This means that the Azzurri will go at least 12 years without playing a World Cup match, and 20 since their last knockout game, which was their 2006 World Cup triumph over France in the final, no less. And that just about wraps up today's video, looking at how every single European Championship winner followed up their winning performance at the next World Cup, and just seeing how well they did more generally. If you enjoyed this video, of course, please don't forget, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and you can ring the notification bell to get notified whenever I upload a video straight away. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, I'll see you then.